Are we ready for the second temptation? Sexual temptation. So for this one, we're briefly going to go over two examples found in the Bible. First, we're going to talk about the story of Joseph and Potiphar's wife. Now, Joseph is a young, fit, and handsome man who was sold into slavery by his brothers. He lands up in the house of Potiphar, who was the captain of Pharaoh's guard. Potiphar was impressed by how well Joseph worked and how efficient and effective he was. He could clearly see that God was with him and that God gave him success in everything that he did. So Potiphar put Joseph in charge of his entire household and everything that he owned. With Joseph in charge, Potiphar's homes and fields were blessed, and Potiphar had to worry about absolutely nothing, only what he ate. Well, at least that's what Potiphar thought. See, there was actually one more thing that Potiphar needed to worry about: his wife. You see, Potiphar was not the only one impressed by Joseph. Potiphar's wife was also impressed by Joseph, but for slightly different reasons. So in Genesis 39, 6-15, we're going to find out what those reasons are. Joseph was a very handsome and well-built young man, and Potiphar's wife soon began to look at him lustfully. "Come and sleep with me," she demanded. But Joseph refused. "Look," he told her, "my master trusts me with everything in his entire household. No one has more authority than I do. He has held back nothing from me except you, because you are his wife. How could I do such a wicked thing? It would be a great sin against God." She kept putting pressure on him day after day, but he refused to sleep with her, and he kept out of her way as much as possible. One day, however, no one else was around when he went in to do his work. She came and grabbed him by his cloak, demanding, "Come on, sleep with me." Joseph tore himself away, but left his cloak in her hand as he ran from the house. When she saw that she was holding his cloak and fled, she called out to the servants. Soon, all the men came running. "Look," she said, my husband has brought this Hebrew slave to make fools of us. He came into my room to rape me, but I screamed. When he heard me scream, he ran outside and got away, but he left his cloak behind me." So what can we learn from this story of Joseph? Firstly, be careful of the wives of high-ranking Egyptian officials. Now, if you are Egyptian in this room or watching that later, that was a joke, okay? The first thing that we can learn from this passage of Scripture is that isolation leads to desolation. If you are scared that temptation might be lurking, don't be alone. Sometimes it's unavoidable, but most of the time we can make sure that we are not alone. But the second thing that we can learn from the story is pretty simple. Run. When the physical temptation comes your way, run. Whether you are married, dating, or single, if you know a certain girl or guy is trouble, run. Don't be alone with them in the room. Avoid them. Don't talk to them on the phone. Run. A high five is as much as they're getting. If you know half-naked girls on your Instagram leads you to looking at other sites, unfollow those girls or block them. Or better yet, delete your Instagram. I promise you, you can live without social media. You will be okay. You need to learn to run. You see, we don't play with temptation. There is a way out, and that way out is to run. Second, let's talk about the story of David and Bathsheba. This story comes from 2 Samuel. So one night in Jerusalem, King David was walking on the rooftop when he spotted a beautiful woman bathing on a roof nearby. Clearly, David still had really good eyes. But he asked his servants about her, and was told that she was Bathsheba, the wife of Uriah the Hittite, one of David's mighty men. Despite her marital status, David summoned Bathsheba to the palace, and they slept together. To carry on with the story, Bathsheba falls pregnant. David tries to cover up his sin by first calling Uriah home so that he can come and sleep with his wife. And when that failed, he eventually ended up sending him to the front lines of the battlefield so that he can be killed. What was the mistake that David made? He didn't run. You see, this is what David did. He walked onto his roof and he saw Bathsheba and he was like, hey. And he carried on looking and carried on looking. But this is what David was supposed to do. He walked onto his balcony, saw Bathsheba, and should have ran. But he didn't. He kept on looking. So why do we need to run from sexual temptation? 1 Corinthians 6, verse 18. Run from sexual sin. No other sin so clearly affects the body as this one does. For sexual immorality is a sin against your own body. You see, we always need to find a way to run from sexual temptation. See, because this is a temptation that will be there whether you're single, dating, engaged, married, divorced. No matter what stage of life you are in, it'll be there and it is tough. In fact, I would go as far to say that this is possibly the sin that is most used by the enemy to trap us and cause us to sin and experience guilt and shame. And that ends up leading us to isolating ourselves even more unless we make ourselves accountable to those who are close around us. So, practically speaking, what are some simple things that you can do in your life to put guards up if you're in a relationship? Well, for Adal and I, these are the safety measures that we have in place. We have a shared calendar, and every single appointment we have, whether work-related or private, goes on that calendar, including who it is with, where it is, and what time it is. If, for whatever reason, something unplanned happens and we end up being alone with the opposite sex, we drop a quick message, a voice note, or a call, and we say so. We know the passwords to each other's phones, and no app or chat is off limits. See, right here is the moment where you might be led with your pride to think, but no, you just don't trust me. See, it's not about trust. It's about accountability. And when you have nothing to hide, you have nothing to worry about. And listen to me closely when I say this. I don't care how spiritual you are. I don't care how close to God you are one step away from messing up. You are one silly decision away from ruining your life.